like just putzing out on me. Is it better for me to be vertical or horizontal for you guys?
You're good how you are now.
Wonderful.
So that's fine, or whatever you want to do. Actually, it's funny you say that, because like I just bought, and we're a few years older than you. So we actually both just bought new MacBooks. So maybe once you get in your 30s, you'll upgrade. And
That'll be my 30s upgrade. Love it.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah, once you get in your 30s, you'll get a new MacBook and you'll get a new car.
Yeah.
And get whatever you want. That's what you have to do. Just keep working.
Can I turn 30 tomorrow, please?
Yeah.
So
all right. Well, I guess I'm gonna head this off. So here we are at Two Nicoles One Podcast, and we have Spencer Crandall here.
Yes.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming on our show.
Yes.
I usually, or we both do this, we thank the guest for having us on, because
we forget that this is our
show. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's who we are.
Yeah, it's just who we are. It is what it is.
Yeah. So I have to say, I'm super excited that you're here. I found you in 2019. Your song, My Person's like my favorite song.
No way, that's awesome.
Yeah, you popped up on, I think it was like a hot country playlist on Spotify for me. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I didn't really hear anything else from you for a while, but then over the summer, I was on TikTok and you were like all over TikTok. And I was like, oh, I forgot about this guy. And I was super excited. And then I was telling her, I was like, we got to get him on the show. Because I was like, he's going to be major. So I was like, yes. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's such a cool story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I did a little research on you. So just to kind of put it out there, I'm not a huge country fan.
Yeah.
But I did some research on you, and you do seem like a really cool guy. I was looking at your Twitter, and I saw you put is that your real phone number?
I have like a community number just for it's like a great way for me to actually connect. And although it's not like my real number, I really do sit down for like a lot of my week is spent texting people back. Cause I think it's been such an awesome way to like open a real line of dialogue. It feels different than DM. I can text people links to things that we're working on. I can have real conversations with them. It's just been a really fun way. I've actually been posting the number on some of my TikToks too. And so like the people kind of like you, Nicole, we're like, well, I guess you're both Nicole.
We're both Nicole.
What's the differentiator here? How can I differentiate?
Our hair's different.
Yeah.
I'm like Nicole M. She's Nicole
Burnett
C.
Nicole.
Yeah.
Like you said, like how you found me, but then it took a while to find me again. The goal is for people to not kind of have to do that, to get inside of the funnel, and so that they can be, like updated on things and be in the loop when we go to play shows. We have their zip codes. I have their birthday, so I can text people happy birthday. So it's been really fun.
Oh, that's really cool.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I did think it was cool because I mean, Nicole was going, because this is, a group or not a group, it's a duo podcast.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's going from the fan aspect. I was like, this guy is cool. So that's something, looking for our fans, that not only country music fans, but, and honestly, I'm sure you know this, because I'm sure you grew up like in country music, but a lot of people go to country concerts just for the atmosphere and not as fans. So I think, just to say, hey, this guy's cool, and people might want to buy tickets and go to your shows and support you just because you're a cool guy and you're cool to be around. Because if you go to a show to kind of, I guess, quote unquote, hang out with somebody. So that's kind of why we collectively brought you on.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of always feel like I serve as a pretty natural bridge for people who might not love like traditional country music. I offer like a little bit newer of a take and some genre blending, where if you're like, like Alan Jackson or George Strait aren't for me, I can be this kind of like Trojan horse into country music for people, where it's one of my favorite compliments. Like, I don't like country music, but I like you. Yeah. And so I think it's really just storytelling, and I'm not super concerned with genre. It kind of is what it ends up being. But the fun part is I get to pull from people like Justin Timberlake or John Bellion or Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran or whatever. So I feel pretty confident that, even a non-country fan could come out to a show and have a really, really good time. And that's important to me.
Yeah. I get kind of like Sam Hunt vibes when I listen to your music, and I don't, I don't consider him super country either,
No.
because he's very kind of all over the place too. And
Yeah.
people will say, oh, he's not country. Well, but he's good. Like, I like listening to him, and I saw him in concert and he was phenomenal. So
That's like a very, very Southern thing to say. Like
Yeah.
people that are very traditionally Southern, like kind of an old South thing to say, like it's not real
Mhm.
country. It's almost like
Mhm.
a hill they stand on. Like I will die on this hill.
yeah.
You have
Oh,
to be the
trust me.
countryest of the
Go
country.
read my TikTok comments.
Yeah.
Like there's somebody literally who has a fake account who's like, I gotta tell this guy 14 times a day that he's not country enough, so he cries
Literally.
at night.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny is like when I first started, that really like affected me, and I felt like I had something to prove. And now as I've seen a little bit more success, or like really just done it more, the thought of trying to be really like any genre or label is so not serving. Like I should just make the music I genuinely want to listen to in my car,
Mhm.
and whatever that turns out to be is exciting. I also always challenge people, like, if I'm not country, I would love to hear your operational definition of country,
Yeah.
because what it is now was not what it was 10 years ago, was not what it was 20 years ago,
Mhm.
was definitely not what it was 60 years ago.
No.
No.
And bluegrass music didn't even start till like the 60s. So
Mhm.
instruments, the way we make music, the way we tell stories, all of our influences, how music is distributed, how the iPod and Spotify, all those things have changed all genres. So I'm always super curious when people are like, you're not country. I'm like, great, but then we have to start drawing lines, and it just gets really hard. And who's the
Mhm.
committee on this? Is it you, John Doe, living in Kentucky, who listens to country music 3 times a week? Is it the Grammys? Is it labels? Is it artists? It's really tough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
and I mean, and I think kind of just looking at like Taylor Swift, like every single album she puts out
Different.
is this different genre. She's also kind
Yeah.
of crossed into like a couple years ago, she crossed into the model world. She's probably going to be in a movie soon. She's probably going to get a Tony Award. You know what I mean? So I mean, you could do what you
Talented.
want.
Yeah.
It's called like
Yeah.
living your life and like
Yeah.
having like being an American and having free will.
Yeah. I mean, as long
Yeah.
as it's top stuff people want to listen to, who cares?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm much more concerned about quality over the naming or
Yeah.
labeling things, for sure.
That makes sense. Do you have a dream collab that you'd want to do? Well, let's do country first and then non-country first. Second.
Sure.
I can't talk.
My just kind of my countryman crush has always been Keith Urban.
Okay.
He's like he's a great example to me of a guy who like respects country music, but also pushes the genre,
Yes.
Mhm.
takes his fans to new places, but does it in a way that feels respectful and like, but also authentic. It's such a hard line to walk, and it feels like he's almost done it perfectly, which is so impressive.
Mhm.
So I'd love to do something with Keith. And then non-country, Justin Timberlake, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Cool.
my man crush of all the man crushes.
That'd be a pretty cool collab. Let's speak that into the universe.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it. Justin, we know you're listening.
Yeah, of course.
Of
Just
course.
hit me up already.
Yeah.
I feel like what would be cool too is maybe like with somebody really like soulful, like maybe like Alicia Keys or something.
Oh yeah.
That would be
Oh.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
I have to take just like 1 second because that just lit me up inside. The fireworks that that would be so incredible.
Yeah.
That'd be
Like
so
with
fun. Or
the,
like a John Legend.
yeah,
some of
like
that
with
would
the
be
guitar and
Yeah,
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
be
Yeah.
amazing.
I'll take 10%.
Okay, deal.
Especially with a big name like that.
Yeah.
Like, man, we're gonna
Yeah.
roll in the dough.
Yeah. Oh, so funny. Do you write all of your songs?
I do, yeah. It's something that's kind of important to me. I think the especially nowadays, as people are telling, this is like why I really respect Sam Hunt, and people can say he's country or not country, but same with like Taylor Swift, and their stories are so believable because they're writing their own stories. And I
Right.
think back in the day, and there's nothing wrong with this, like I really respect a guy like Jason Aldean or George Strait or Tim McGraw, who don't write as much. Those guys are great entertainers.
Mhm.
But I think what we're seeing now is a shift in the market where people want to connect, kind of like Thomas Rhett, where they want to hear a song about his wife because that's his actual life.
Right.
Mhm.
And the more that I tell my story and it's authentic to me and I pepper in the details of like what actually happened, it seems to land more. It seems to mean more to me. And I think that translates over time. So it's really important to me. And honestly, it's my favorite part of it. So I'd feel so weird, like just cutting random songs. So yeah, I do write all my own stuff, and it's kind of become this hill that I will die on, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. So all your songs are actually about real experiences. So the one I've heard most recently is Things I Can't Say, or Once I Can't Say.
Yeah.
So is that
Things I Can't Say.
Yeah. So
yeah, I wrote that with Josh and Julia actually featured on the song.
Yes.
And she was like really in it, and I'd gone through that too, where you really want to tell somebody how you feel, but you do not want to scare them away. And you don't want to be the first one who's like, I love you, and you get the thanks.
Yeah.
So she was in a position with her now boyfriend where she was like, oh my gosh, I'm like falling so hard for this guy. And we pulled from both of our experiences, because I fall so fast too. So I was talking about a couple of my ex-girlfriends, and I was like, oh my God, I remember I literally like was naming our children. I'm like, I'm a crazy person. Oh my God. And so like one of the first lines, like, I see us in a ranch house with a pond, a couple kids with your baby blues. And I bet you look good as a soccer mom. And hers is like, her verse, she talked about how she wants to get married on the beach. And she's like, when I think of getting married, I think of this human, and we've been dating for 2 months. That's insanity, right? And I was like, I don't think so. So we immediately were kind of looking at each other like, I think we all can relate to this. So that's what's fun about songwriting. And especially for me, I do a lot of co-writing. So it's fun to pull from everyone's experience. You get this like Frankenstein version of the truth.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
So you kind of use it as like journaling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like therapy meets journaling meets like, there's a lot of stuff that subconsciously you'll hold on to or that you want to say. And all of a sudden you'll be in a write, and your mind almost like makes you say it out loud. And there's a lot of freedom in that, like autonomy of like, this is how I actually feel. And even if it's not right for the song, or it ends up being a different lyric, it's really empowering to like really sit with your feelings and take your own temperature and be like, where am I in life? Like, how did that experience make me feel? Because I only learned from really digging into my own stuff. And it's been really helpful, like as a human being, to learn and grow by songwriting. It's really cool.
Do you ever feel like it's something like, wow, that happened like 6 years ago? Why am I just putting this out now? Like, does that happen? Like, it's something that's like deep in there. Like, that was my high school girlfriend.
Yeah, it's crazy. Cause I think there's a lot of parts of our lives where you're not ready to process something until you have room from it, because you feel safe now. And so there's been a lot of times where in the moment, people are like, oh, that breakup, you're about to write a bunch of bangers. I'm like, I can't do that. I could not do that right now. That it hurts my soul. I can't dig into this thing, because every time I try to, I feel anxious. I feel depressed. A year goes by. I wrote down some of my thoughts, which is good and helpful. Now I'm in the writer's room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have the perfect amount of time where I can deal with this properly. I can express what I feel, and not so emotionally that I'm saying things that are irrational or hurtful, or because that's not like the intent in my songs. But sometimes the truth is this, like, you know, like it takes, I wrote a lyric the other day. It was like, a lonely red-eye flight, couldn't even tell my parents I'm gonna be the only one they're picking up. Guess it'll hit me getting in the truck. And I had to live that lyric to complete that song, but I needed time away. And then when I thought back on the experience, like in the car, I wasn't like, this is gonna be such a great lyric. But a year later, I'm like, oh my gosh, that happened. And like, that was such a powerful way to say, like, I feel betrayed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can pull from your real life and it not break you with some space. It's helpful.
When your songs have come out, have any of your ex-girlfriends reached out asking if the song's about them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been with people while songs come out, and then we break up later too. So that's interesting. I've had very few girlfriends in my life, so this isn't like an ongoing issue for me where I just have hundreds of women every time I put out a song. But no, it's funny, like, you know, like something like my high school girlfriend, she's like, did you really put that in a song? I'm like, yeah, I did. That happened to both of us. And luckily I really am, this isn't like for a podcast or a PR move. I really am like good with all my exes, which feels good. So I feel in a place where I can speak respectively about what we went through, and I feel like it's only with love, and they understand that. And that's part of songwriting, is like, that's my experience. It could also, they could have the opposite, and that's totally fine too. I do feel bad sometimes because it feels like only my side of the story is out there. So I am very protective if someone's like, that girl must be a B word. I'm like, whoa. You should ask her, because I'm sure I was, definitely not, I probably embarrassed myself multiple times in that breakup or that relationship. So.
Oh yeah. And it's good that you acknowledge that it does take two sides. I was just thinking, like, I would be like, of course it wasn't you, Bethany. I've been with other women,
Yeah.
That's how I would handle it. But
that's funny. Is the song Kept Every Vow about your parents?
It is, yeah.
You need to listen to that one.
Okay. Well,
yeah, I wrote that song. Oh, sorry. What?
No, I was just gonna say, like, because the angle I take, I was trying to do like more research on you personally.
As music,
sure.
No, I get that, and I respect that, but I'm thinking, like, because I'm like more interested in you as a person, because like I saw you to Nashville young, and like, so we're from Pittsburgh. We bring this up on every freaking episode. We're from Pittsburgh, but we've both lived. Well, you lived in Florida for a short period of time, but we've like lived here forever, and neither of us have ever like picked up and moved somewhere. And like that to me is such like, that's such an interesting thing. And I know you probably think, well, of course it is, blah, blah, blah. But like, I think that's such like, it's an admirable thing. Like, even if you would have done it and you would have failed, you still did it. You know what I mean? And I always respect that somebody, kind of, especially that, and honestly, that's probably the best time to do it, when you're young, before you're settled in. But somebody just kind of like, you gave up your whole network. Like everybody, your parents, everybody that supports you. And unless you're like a billionaire's kid, like you don't have the resources that, somebody, what did you like, go in a Cavalier and just drive to Nashville? Like, I mean, how did
I loaded up a Nissan Pathfinder, and
similar.
The same one that's in my front yard right now. So it's breaking down on me, but it'll do. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I talked to my parents about this the other day. Like, I forget in my brain that most people don't move across the country to like chase their dreams, or because most people don't have to. Like, there's jobs in most places, but for certain things, there's cities and networks and in groups that you have to kind of be around to do things. So I knew that once I wanted to do country music, I had to move to Nashville. And I really did. I had a year left of college. I finished online, but like I moved that summer out here. I took some trips before, kind of met some people, but it's scary for sure. That first 6 months is super lonely and weird. It's very like isolating, and you're trying to fit in, but like no group of friends feels like your group of friends yet, because everyone's moving at random times. So like it feels like no one's in your class yet everyone's in your class. It's a very odd dynamic. And like you said, like you lose your network. All my high school friends are like, how's it going? I'm like, I miss you guys. Like, but you kind of have to throw yourself in the deep end, and it all worked out. I'm luckily very extroverted. So
well, I mean, to your point, the thing is like nowadays it is easier. Like you can start a podcast from anywhere, this and that, and things are kind of with show business. Like you can do things more regionally than you used to. But back in the day, it was like, well, if you wanted to do this, you had to go to New York. If you want to do this, you have to go to LA. If you want to do this, you have to go to Florida, whatever. It used to be a lot more regional. So what a lot of people would do, instead of just like, oh, I'm going to go, they would just say, once I save up enough money, and it just never came. And then they kind of just got into the, the 9-to-5 hole, or maybe found success somewhere else, but just never pursued the dream, which there's different strokes for different folks. It's not for everybody. That's very but just like, what was in your, like, were you like recording at home, or was it just like, what, it's now or never, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna get in somewhere, and that's gonna be it, I'm gonna find a way to make this happen? Like, what was going on in your head at the time?
Yeah, like for some more context, I guess, like I didn't grow up doing music. I didn't, I wasn't this musical prodigy, taking piano lessons. I was a kid who played football because my friends played football. And so I did that. I got lucky enough to get a scholarship to go play little D2 football, roll up. I'm so excited. It's my identity. It's my dream. I get there, and pretty much within the first couple of months, we'll have 2 massive shoulder surgeries.
Ooh.
On each shoulder. Doctors are like, hey, you should stop that. And I was like, dang. And it was at the same time I kind of fell out of love with the game and just really didn't know what to do with my life. So I picked up this old Walmart guitar sitting in my dorm room, and I just started learning chords and playing stuff on YouTube, and literally like got 0 likes on anything for so long, and started to ask people to tag a friend, and then they'd tag one friend, who'd tag a friend, who'd tag a friend, and really built it super grassroots. Do like 15-second Instagram covers and Twitter covers, and just message people like, hey, I see you like Kane Brown. I see you like so-and-so. I also do country music. And it started to pick up some steam.
Mm-hmm.
I told my parents, like, I need a couple things. I think I need music. I think I need a manager. I think I need fans. Like, that seems to be what everyone else is doing. So I got a little project that doesn't exist anymore. It's my first like attempt at making music. I met my still manager, Jeff Terry, who's incredible. He lived in Seattle. I was in Denver. Started working together, and I really just bet on the internet super hard.
Mm-hmm.
So over the course of a year or two, all of a sudden 10,000 followers becomes 20, becomes like 100,000 Instagram followers. And some people in Nashville were asking me, hey, are you in town? You want to write? And I'm like, what does in town mean? What do you mean when you say that? And they're like, Nashville, we're all in Nashville. This is what you do. So me and my manager, Jeff, started taking trips once a month. And I had a year left of college. And after my first week in Nashville, I called my parents and I was like, I need to get here as soon as possible because I need to start being bad at this as soon as possible. I need to get here so I can write crappy songs and get them out of the way. I need to get here so I can just run through all the new beginner artist stuff that everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
So I can start getting ahead. And they're like, okay, well, can you finish school because we paid for this? And it's, you're so close. So I was like, sure. I figured it out online, and it just gets to a point, I feel like it felt to me like it was riskier not to risk it.
Yeah.
Like I would have gone the rest of my life so curious what would have happened. And I just didn't want that to be the case. And I asked myself, because I had so much time on my hands, I wasn't going to class and I had not played football anymore. Like, what do I want to do with my spare time? Like if I could do anything. And I'd get bored enough and I'd pick up this guitar and I'd sing songs, and it made me feel alive. And then I'd sing songs I wrote to my friends in my dorm room, and they'd be like, yeah, that's good, Spencer. And then over time, they'd be like, hey, you know that one you played last night? Can you record it so I can have it on my phone? And I'd be like, oh,
wow.
So that one was good. And they're like, yeah, I really like the chorus, but I don't like the bridge. So I rewrite the bridge. And I just became addicted to storytelling and to saying things that humans can relate to, and singing. And I really love marketing and the internet and all those things. And country music and what I do now is like this weird Frankenstein version of all those things. So it just kind of tipped the scale, and I knew I had to move.
That's a good sign when you like hear somebody, and basically what you said is you're addicted to the process. Like when you hear somebody say they're addicted to the process, because when it's about the money, you can make the money doing other things and you eventually fail. But when you're addicted to the process, you'll make it happen some way. Might take you longer than you want, but it's going to happen. So that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I just asked myself, like, would I rather make $20,000 a year doing music, or $300,000 in, I went to school to like be in construction management. And I was like, I think I'd be really unhappy doing this other thing if I knew that I could even just skate by on this other thing, or on the thing I wanted to do rather. So that was like an interesting turning point in my brain. I was like, oh, I like have to do this. It doesn't even feel like I have free will anymore.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
When you say construction management, are you into construction at all? Or was it just one of those like, oh, I gotta pick a major?
My dad is the president of a home building company. And so I was like, that's what people do. You build homes. Like, it's very classic. Like, your dad's a lawyer, you just go to law school. And And it's so funny because I have the best, most supportive parents. And I was almost in tears because I'm like, I'm going to let them down. I don't want to play football. I don't want to be in construction. I want to do music, which is such a weird new thing. And both my parents, especially my dad, were like, cool, dude. Like, it's so funny the things that we build up in our brain. I was like, in my head, I thought they were going to be like, you're banished. You'll never come to Christmas again. Like these evil villains. And they were just like, yeah, we love you. Like, we want you to be happy. How can we help? I was like, oh.
Awesome.
Like that's my privilege is really having been raised like that and having parents like that who the whole way were like, great, let's find you an apartment in Nashville. Let's help you cut some music. Let's find you a manager. Like, so thankful for my parents.
That is awesome. Yeah. Because I mean, could you imagine if they did just like, oh, well, you're on your own, and you're like,
I definitely would not be where I am. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's great because that can happen.
Yeah. So have you actually ever been to Pittsburgh at all?
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day. I've been to almost all 50 states except for everything in the Northeast. Like I've been to New York and I've been to Maryland and DC, Virginia, like that kind of east part. Never done like Pitt, Boston, Mass, like New Jersey. Well, I went and saw Michael Bublé in New Jersey for one night. So I don't know if that counts, but a lot of that stuff up there, like New Hampshire or anything, I've never done that. So that is obviously a big goal of mine, is to get up there, play some shows. Be awesome.
You're gonna have, I was gonna say you're gonna have to tour more.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Is there somewhere you play a lot in Nashville? I mean, things are starting to open up again, or I guess pre-COVID or after COVID, kind of where you're playing.
Yeah, I'll do like a couple different places are really fun to play. There's a place called The Listening Room, and that's a writer's round that feels very intimate, and like it's known for people being there to like really hear songs, and which is really refreshing. And then I played something last night called Whiskey Jam, which is like you pop up for like 3 songs really quick with a full band, and it's very socially distanced and safe still, but those are kind of the only options right now, unfortunately. Vaccines, we need those vaccines to get out and play.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. I know like Tennessee, I mean, Tennessee's not, obviously you would know better than me. It's not like wide open, like how like say Georgia is, but it's not.
Right.
I know some of the clubs have been open. Like I'm really big into comedy, and I know a lot of comedians are going through like Zanies in Nashville, but it's like half capacity or something like that. So stuff's still going on. It's just not how it once was.
Yeah. Crazy. We're getting closer though. I can feel it. Like the weather's coming back. So a lot of my friends my age are getting the vaccine. All of a sudden, like it feels like everybody's kind of open up to it. So I would be ecstatic for some fall concerts. That would make me so happy.
Yeah. I've actually already got my first vaccine. So
I'm so jealous of you. That's amazing.
Well, I mean, I felt kind of crappy like the day after, but yeah, I mean, just put yourself on a list somewhere, and eventually, I mean, in the next couple months, it's coming.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you know, there was some like, oh, it's new, but it's like, I just want to get out there and live. And I am so sick of, especially like I can work from home, and that's like, we've just kind of been making everything work. Like with the podcast, we can do Zoom, it's easy. But like when you're like, you're paying your rent, paying everything depends on getting out there.
It's hard.
I mean, how have you been? Did you just, is that why you got on TikTok and stuff, just to try to make some money while you can't go anywhere?
Yeah, you know, like the world accidentally crashed into a lot of my ideologies, meaning like I already bet on the internet really, really heavily. And I saw a lot of my peers or like people just in any genre or whatever going out and playing these small clubs and like breaking the bank, staying in these terrible motels. And I was like, I can jump on TikTok live and play for 8,000 people and never leave my living room.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm going to keep doing that until, you know, something changes. And I got lucky enough that I really did bet on the internet a ton, even pre-COVID. And then that happened and everyone's like, well, music's not happening this year. And I was like, maybe for you guys, but I actually think like COVID severely, you know, kind of ramped up the momentum of my career. And it's, you know, you could never plan anything like that. And at the cost of obviously a terrible pandemic. But for me personally, it really did just shut down the world and force people to be on their phones all day. And I was kind of betting that the eyeballs and ears and the attention of my target audience were already there. So for me, like I already made most of my money on streaming, not a lot on touring. It again, it's like weird to say, I almost feel bad to say, but it was like the greatest year of my career so far, because again, like it forced the market into this thing that I was already doing. So I got really lucky in that regard for sure.
I mean, that's smart. And I think that's one of those things like where, like, think of like who invented Zoom or the early investors of Zoom. And people are
Wild.
like, this will never work. And it's valued at billions and millions of dollars.
Well, and also think about a company like WeWork.
Yeah.
Where like, it's like everyone's going to be packed in from different companies. They had an office in like every city in America. You could have never guessed that like Zoom would do this and WeWork would do this. It's wild. Change the world.
Yeah.
You walk through New York and they're on every block, and then now it's like all Zoom.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's the way the world's going, and it was smart. And I feel like a lot of it's like being young, but I mean, kind of just forward thinking. Like this is what people are doing now. People are on their phones all day long.
Sure.
It's not, you know, the old way where, you know, everybody goes to, I mean, going to shows is nice. And I think, you know, coming up, people do want to get out of their houses, and that's going to be great. But man, yeah, that was smart. And that is a great way to develop a career in these modern times.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have anything planned? Do you have any like tours planned, especially with things opening up? Anything big coming up that you want to reveal on Two Nicoles One podcast?
You know, we're working on a bunch of new music, and that's really exciting. I put out an album at the end of last year that really like opened up my eyes to kind of like what I want to do and how I want to make music. And it was a great, you know, again, talking about process, like I just had so much fun making the album. So now I feel very much on fire to make the next best thing. And I have so many songs that I can't wait to put out there. I have this really cool concept that I'm working on, and touring is still out of my control right now that I would love to, but we're kind of just very reactionary to that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, just doing more content, TikTok, making music, kind of rinse and repeat, quality and quantity, trying to keep them both up. And I golfed today, so that's nice. That was my big plan.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So is that golfing something you do when you're not recording, doing music? Like what do you do, I guess, when you're not recording? What do you do?
I really enjoy my work, but I end up working a little bit too much. And that's not like a flex or like a hustle porn. Like I'm really trying to retell my narrative, because I don't want to be the guy who's like, you just got to grind all the time, never sleep, eat 10 calories. Like that's not it.
Yeah.
But I really do love what I do. So I feel like I get to do it all the time. And then like today on my calendar was literally like, do nothing until 3:30. Like, wake up, drink coffee. I played Mario Kart and went golfing. Like I have to have that. I heard a podcast with Pete Holmes, and he was talking about like soul points and how if you spend too many and you don't get enough back, you're left so empty. And I was like, it just rang so true for me. So I'm trying really hard in this kind of new season of life, as the world comes back to normal, to be really intentional about like what fills me up and feeds me outside of work. What do I do for fun that has nothing to do with music, nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with followers, nothing to do, you know, like golf's a great example. I like being sporty. I play spike ball, I fish, I snowboard. So when I'm flying down a mountain at 40 miles an hour, it's hard to think about anything else other than don't die. So that's always nice.
That's true.
It's funny that you bring that up, because I tell the story and everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I'm like terrified to ski or snowboard because I am a big Cher fan, and Cher was married to Sonny Bono, and he died in a skiing accident.
You're going to die.
So I am terrified, and I know he was going down like one of those really dangerous mountains and whatever, but that's been in the back of my head since I was a little girl.
I get it.
Yeah. It's just a huge fear.
Okay. We're also irrational people.
Yeah,
too,
we're
so,
very,
yeah.
very
join
irrational.
the club. I'm the
Yeah.
irrational president.
Yeah.
You should
Yeah,
hear
it's
some
like
of the thoughts in my brain that are like, just why? I'm like, how did I get here? I'm driving down the road and all of a sudden I'm picturing myself. I drove off a cliff and I'm hanging onto a branch. I'm like, how did my brain take me from listening to Justin Bieber to this wild scenario going on?
Yeah, especially like you live in Nashville. It's pretty flat there. Like where is this cliff
It's
at?
incredibly flat. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my brain does it.
Us too.
It's wild.
So you listen to all kinds of different music. You're not just the. So did you grow up listening to country?
Yeah, my parents are both like fanatical country music fans, but I have an older brother who basically, against my parents' wishes, downloaded LimeWire and exposed us all to like Tech Nine and Eminem and Skrillex and Mayday Parade and Green Day and like the raunchiest, dirtiest, the most fun music ever.
Yeah, the good stuff.
And so I have all of this like weird inspiration from all these places, from like pop punk to EDM to, you know, like my mom's also a huge John Mayer, Justin Timberlake, Michael Bublé. She just loves like a good voice. And so she's always like, that person just has rich tone. And she was always really into that. So I come from like a family who grew up in the church. And so I listen to a lot of Christian music, and there's a lot of melodic gospel stuff in there too. So I don't know how, but here we are. I feel like that's kind of everyone nowadays. You know, we all had these iPods and we're just, how did this song get on there? I don't know, but I love it. Like, I don't even know the artist, but it's cool.
It's funny because like I still have my like old iPod, and if I plug it in, like some of the playlists are crazy. It will go from like Eminem to country to Hillary Duff. Do you remember Hillary Duff sang?
Oh
like,
yeah.
It's just like, but how did this get on my iPod?
Yeah,
but whatever. It's a good jam.
Yeah, or like
my phone is at 3%. I have a phone charger 2 feet away from me. I'm gonna be back in 10 seconds.
Okay. That was you.
No, that was me. I can't whistle.
I was like, I was proud of you.
No, I can't whistle.
Like, Sweet likes the music. I thought it was her.
That was perfectly. I will say that's like my only talent that I feel very confident in. I just feel like I'm the best whistler I've ever heard. I've never heard a better whistler than me. That's it. I can't do anything else.
I always say I'm not commercially talented. Like I can't, sing or do anything like that. You can dance.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I can kind of sort of do something and not fall, but yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone can do the robot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I've done that before. Like you're in a bar and like people are trying to like put on a show, and it's like, oh, I'll show you a show.
Anybody
I'll do the robot.
can dance after somebody. Just say
the
Enough
shopping
tequila.
cart.
Oh yeah, tequila's rough, man.
Well, I know that's from a country song, like tequila makes her clothes fall off. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard things. I listen to a lot of hip hop is my big thing, but I do listen to a lot of different things. Like you would probably go through my thing, and I've got a lot of random stuff in my.
I think that's okay.
And also, I don't know if this happened to anybody else, but talking about like your iPod, in my iTunes, I do not know how to get off. Remember when U2 uploaded that album to everybody's phone? I still don't know how to get it off. So that's in my thing, and I'm like, oh, and honestly, I like U2, but I just don't like that they did that. So I won't listen to the songs.
Hey, that's fair. I feel the same way. I feel violated.
It was random. I remember waking up the next day and that happened. I was like, how did this get here?
I do really wish that I could do that though. To just forcefully make the world listen to my album would be very nice.
Yeah, but then they're gonna be like, I'm not listening to this just because you put
I guess you're right. The backfire and the backlash is probably not worth the exposure.
Because how many people were so mad about that?
I was mad.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If it was one song, though, I feel like you could probably get away with one song.
Yeah, that'd be actually
the whole album, though, is too much.
If like
too aggressive.
Yeah, if like artists did that, like just randomly put random songs, like one song would be fine. Because I would be like, oh, I'll listen to this. But when you're forcing a whole album, then it's just like, well, chill.
I don't know about cool, but you could do it and people wouldn't notice.
That's true.
So
then you'd be like, when did I download this song?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. If you want to pull a little scam, quote unquote scam on people, I would do one song.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
If we're gonna scam the world, you got to do it one song at a time.
Just a little
you can't
bit.
drop albums on people.
Yeah,
They don't
not a
like
whole
it.
album because they will notice it and they're not going to be happy. But if you just pull out one song, they'll be like,
That's
oh,
true.
That seems fair
I
to
don't
me.
know this.
Yeah.
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 So that's
Makes
it's
sense.
your lesson you learned today.
Thanks for coming on to Nicoles on podcast. We're very
Yeah.
knowledgeable people.
Yeah, your career is going to skyrocket from what
When did he take a big turn towards stardom? Well, it was after that podcast.
Yeah.
He started hacking people's phones and streams went through the roof.
Yeah, they give me like really great business advice. Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I just know
I have to give them 20%, which
Yeah.
is a bummer, but
Yeah.
or they'll come shake me down, you know. It's,
Mail them a potato. That's our thing.
yeah, we always say like we tell people to give us 5 stars on Apple, and if they don't, we're gonna mail them a sprouted potato. As that's our threat.
Yeah.
Because we feel
seems
like
aggressive. That
Yeah,
seems
well, we feel
YouTube
like-
level aggressive.
we feel like it's aggressive, but it's not aggressive enough that we can get legal recourse.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, oh, this is inconvenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, a potato, I have dinner. It's like, oh, this is inconvenient. It's a sprouted potato. I don't even want to put it directly in the garbage because it's going to smell.
Yeah.
I have to take the garbage out. So that's the theory behind it.
Minor inconveniences.
Yes.
Nothing like it.
Yeah. Like I'm going to take the prongs off your forks or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
That's ruthless.
yes.
That
yeah.
seems like a major inconvenience.
Yeah.
So if you don't want a potato, you should probably go review us on Apple.
Looks like I'm giving you guys 5 stars.
Yeah,
You got
5
me.
stars. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
if it's less, you're going to get a potato
Yeah.
that's sprouted,
Deal.
not one that you can have for dinner
Yeah.
later on in the
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I did tell somebody that and they were like, well, that's fine. I'll just eat it. Like, I like potatoes. Who doesn't like a potato?
Nope.
Yeah.
Those
I'm
are like
proud of myself.
sour too.
Yeah. I've never actually eaten one, you sicko.
I've never eaten one either. I don't think you can smell it sour.
Okay. I was going to say, you're nasty.
I don't just like cut up sprouted potatoes and make fries out of them.
That would be pretty desperate.
Yeah, that would be.
Ugh.
I'm not doing
Yeah.
that. Oh goodness.
I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this has been fun. We could
Yeah, it's
probably
been awesome.
today, but we
You guys
don't.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
being on our show. And I mean, if you need to jostle somebody at all, you know what to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned so much in this podcast. You have no idea.
That's
Yeah.
why we brought you on.
That's why we brought you on. And yeah, once you're 30, you can get yourself a new computer and a new car.
Oh,
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I cannot wait for my 30s.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, you're going to get some lot more success coming soon because things are looking good for you, and you should be able to buy a new computer if you'd like pretty soon. So
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan. My manager is like, we can do it. And I'm just too lazy.
I know. Or sometimes you just you're like, I don't want to see that amount of money coming out of my account.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. And the thought of like backing everything up and it just, yeah. I know I have to though. It's time.
Or with a car, the worst thing is like, you're just like, I'm going to buy a new car. I'm going to spend all this money and then I'm going to back into something like, you
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it. So you're like, this
Yeah.
one's gonna
I'd
work.
like to wreck the one I have because it's already worthless and then go
Okay.
get a new one.
That's the logical
Yeah.
thing to do.
Oh yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So where can our followers find you? Where are all of your social media handles?
You can find me at Spencer Crandall, Crandall on everything except for Twitter. I'm at Spency Boo. I made it when I was 14 and just never quite changed it. So here we are.
That's funny.
And then you're on Spotify.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
my name. Anywhere you want to stream music, just search Spencer Crandall and I'll be there.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Of
Yeah.
course. Thank you guys so much. This was awesome. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.